Hello everyone. Today we'll try and round off our discussion on the return to Eden. We have been able to identify the vices that are tied to the concupiscence, and we've been able to summarize them into three. So for the lust of the flesh, we have pleasure. For the lust of the eye, we have possession. And then for pride of life, we have pride. What we're going to try to do today is to look for the corresponding virtues that can enable us to be able to fight, resist, or overcome this pull or this tendency to sin. Because as Christians, we know that if there's any sin or habitual sin or anything that we're trying to fight, that the best way to actually fight, in addition to prayers and the sacrament and all the rest, is to actually work towards acquiring the corresponding virtue of that vice. Now, for the three concupiscence, when we think of the corresponding virtues, what comes to our mind? Have you heard of the word Evangelical Counsel before? Yes, a lot of us as Catholics especially would have heard of the word Evangelical Counsel, because we know these are the vows that the religious take as part of their vocation. What we may not have done is to actually correlate these vows as virtues that actually enable us to fight these vices, or these, should I say, vices that come from the concupiscence. And if you actually look at it, when you look at the vow that they take of chastity, celibacy, chastity, is actually supposed to help to fight the lust for the flesh, which is pleasure. And then if you look at the vow of obedience, which is actually supposed to help to fight the pride of life. And then if you look at the vow of poverty, is actually supposed to help to fight, the lust of the eye, which is possession. So you can actually tie this evangelical counsel, these vows that are taken. So the church has already provided actually to us those virtues that we can use to fight the vices arising from the concupiscence. But as people, as laymen and women who are not religious and who do not take these vows, how can we align with the evangelical counsel in accordance with our state in life? Because the call to holiness is for all of us, it's not just for the religious. And what we'll try to do is to marry corresponding virtues that are also tied to the evangelical counsel that are more appropriate to our state in life. So for chastity, I'll say purity. And then for obedience, I'll say humility. And then for poverty, I'll say detachment. And what's interesting is that if you pick the first letters of these three virtues, P for purity, H for humility, and D for detachment, you have PhD. Almost like the highest degree which you should attain in order to make it, as a Christian. And these virtues actually are embedded in the Beatitude, and for me they summarize the Beatitude very well. In the Beatitude for purity, Christ said, "Blessed are the poor of heart, for they shall see God." For humility, he said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And then for detachment, he said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." So if you actually look at the Beatitude, you will find these virtues that we are encouraged to acquire in order to detach ourselves from this world, and then to be able to return to Eden, no longer, as we say, as a place, but as a state whereby the seal of God is in us, and whereby God can dwell in us, whereby our status as children of God, which has been won for us by Christ on the cross, by his death, his resurrection, can actually be imprinted and lived out by us here on earth, and by his grace when we exit from this world. May the good Lord help us. Amen.